Hello everyone, this is Alex USA Days, and we're continuing to learn quality assurance from scratch. Today we will have video on Git introduction. So we already covered quite a lot, so we're halfway through. We're at module number 7. That we had basic console commands, some Linux and Windows commands. Next module we will have SQL introduction, but today we're working on Git. So what is Git? Git is a distributed version control system designed to help developers track changes to their code over time. With help of Git, teams can manage and track changes in code, have efficient collaboration, version control, and conflict resolution. Git is installed on a local machine. So, in short, Git is used to track changes and manage code. Git provides several features that make it powerful and flexible, including collaboration. Git allows team members on the same code to work on the same code base. It is used almost everywhere, so you will have to work with it at some point. So it's important to understand the tool. If you go into tech, you, even as a Q engineer, will have to deal with Git at some point. Uh, Git provides version control. So Git track changes, and if something breaks really bad, you can revert and don't have to wait for a fix. You can actually immediately go back to the previous version and to fix your build. Traceability. Git provides a detailed history of changes made. Branching and merging. So Git allows to work in parallel without affecting the main code base. So multiple developers can work in parallel on the same product. There are some visual tools for Git that will use GUI or UI, like source tree. I'll have those tools in the description so you can check them out, but I suggest you learn just the console commands first to understand what you're dealing with, and then get to the UI tools for Git. A link to get Git is git-scm.com. It has both installation instruction for Windows and for Mac on the web page. Now, there's another tool called GitHub. Git and GitHub are related but different tools. So Git is installed on your local machine. GitHub is a web-based platform that provides hosting for Git repositories and additional collaboration features. Many developers use both Git and GitHub together to manage their code and collaborate with others on their projects. Here's the page for the GitHub, also will be available in the description. So github.com. In short, GitHub is a website to store projects so others can also work on them. There are other platforms that allow hosting Git repositories and work on them with a team, GitLab, Bitbucket, SourceForge, etc. All of them, they're very similar. So once you learn how to work with GitHub, you will get familiar with others really fast if needed. Okay, so there are a couple ways we can start working with Git. One way is to actually initialize Git on your local machine with git init command. So you'll go to a folder, open console, um, type git init, and then it will create .git hidden folder where all the git config will be initialized and stored. The other way is to actually create a repository on GitHub first, and that's the way we're going to use, and then clone that remote repository to your machine. So then it will actually add this repository to your folder on your local machine to specified location, and also will add .git hidden folder with all the configs. The typical flow when you work with Git are in these commands. So first you do git pull, and this will get the latest files from remote repository to your local repository. Then you will work on the code, add some changes, and all of those will be untracked in the files folder. So those changes are not tracked by Git yet. Then you will do git add. This will add the changes from the untracked stage into a staging stage. So now they're ready actually to be moved further, right? Then you will do git commit with a message. Now the files that were staged will be now added to the head. So essentially to the latest committed version of your code. And then you issue command git push. that will push your changes to the remote repository. Now we will work through all steps, so you'll kind of get familiar with what's going on. It's going to be very hands-on. Now, let's talk a little bit about branches. So, branching helps to work on different features without interruption. So, multiple developers can work on a project, have multiple branches. A command to create new branches to do git checkout. So, you switch one branch, then dash b, and then provide new branch name. This will immediately will switch from your branch and switch you to the new branch that you create. In work environment, you will normally see a master's branch, or that will be like stable branch with all the latest code that actually works. And you will see also a developers branch. So developers branch is going to be where developers work actively. Then out of those branches, mostly out of develop, there will be checkout of new branches where developers work on the feature, make sure that the feature work, and they will merge back into the main branch or the developer branch. So essentially, you'll have one branch that is stable with the latest code. Maybe you will have continuously like working branch that developers work all the time in that branch, like develop, and then out of that branch they will create like temporarily made branches to actually add some features. On this image here, you just see one branch, master branch. So developer checks out feature B, works on that branch, and then merges that branch back into the master once it's ready. And another developer at the same time check out feature A, work on that feature. Once the feature is done, they check it back in and merge it into the master branch. So this way, it's easy to keep your master branch up to date with all the latest changes without introducing any issues or bugs, possibly without introducing any issues or bugs. So what we will do now, here's our action plan. We will create a GitHub account together. We will create a repository in GitHub. Then we will install Git on a local machine. Then we will clone repository from GitHub to local Git. Then we will set up credentials for GitHub so you can actually update local repository and push it back. And then we will cover some basic commands, git flow. So let's get started. Go to github.com and click sign up. Then in the sign up window, provide the email address you're going to use for your GitHub account. Create password that you will use for that account. And create username for account. Okay, click continue. No updates, thanks. And okay, solve a puzzle that you're a human. Okay, once you prove that you're not a robot, click create account. It will send a code for your account created. Copy paste the code. Okay, perfect. So just me, continue. So here it is suggesting some features. I'm not gonna actually pick here anything, but if you find something that you like, you can check mark it and choose it. Just continue. I'm gonna use the free version. No need for the paid version for this. Okay, and here we are starting with GitHub. All right, perfect. So let's create a repository. Let's create a public repository. So Alex USA Days is the account name. Let's name our repository test, or let's do learn Git, or let's do learn Git repository. Create repository. Repository is created, so you can save it into the desktop, or you can use HTTP link to clone it. We're gonna use that. So let's keep this link around. So we're not going anywhere right now. And go to the page where you can actually install Git on your local machine. So git-scm.com. If you're on Windows, you can just do download for Windows. If you're on Mac, there's some additional instructions. I suggest you install with the Homebrew. So you have to have Homebrew installed. So first step for you will be to go to this web page, copy this link, issue it in your terminal. This will install Homebrew, possibly ask it for your password. Then go to this page and issue brew install git in your terminal, and then that should install Git, and now you can use it on Mac. For Windows, you just hit download for Windows over here, and uh, at the top you will have the latest version. So download for Windows, it will recognize what system you have. Click here to download, and just let's download it and then install it. Okay, so here's an installation window. It will ask a lot of questions, but most of them are just going to be default. Not going to really choose and update many things here. Okay, installation started. All right, so I don't want release notes. Let's get git bash, launch it, and it is now installed. For all the options, I recommend just use the default options if you're using it for the first time. The whole idea is to get to this window as soon as possible. Okay, so now we are here in Git bash. This is actually a terminal where you can start issuing Git commands and work with Git commands. So let's do this. We will go to the repository that was created on GitHub and grab this HTTPS link. So we can just copy it right here, go back to the terminal, and do git clone paste. Okay, here we go. So we will do git clone, and we're cloned an empty repository. So there was actually nothing within this repository. So there was no README file, nothing, but we're going to work in that one. Perfect. Now let's do ls. Here is our learn git. So we can actually move inside that. So let's do cd learn git, do another ls. And now we are inside of the repository. Let's clear out the console. Okay, so what are we going to do? You can see there's some commands that are given here, but we don't need to do that because we already cloned it. What we need to do now is to set up an access token. Otherwise, if we will add any changes, we're not going to be able to actually push it back to GitHub. So for example, I'm going to create a file here. So the command for that, touch, let's do text.txt. So I just created a file. Let's do ls. We can see the file was created. And let's do vi text.txt to open editor and add some information. Inside the text, let's press A, so we can now insert new text. This is new file. So I just type some text out, press escape, and then press Shift and Z twice to save it and exit the editor. Okay, so now if we'll do cat txt, text.txt, we will see that this was added, the text that we just added. So now if we will do git status. Okay, so we write here, so this text file is just in the repository, but so we're right here. For the typical Git flow, we're at step 2. So some changes were added to the code and the file isn't tracked. You can see it's in red. Okay. So next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to stage it. So to stage it, we can do a git add space dot, and this will stage every file that is untracked. But sometimes you don't want to do that because maybe some files, are not ready. So you want to stage, let's say, only file that you worked on. So you can just type the file name text.txt. Now if we will do git status, we will see now it's in green. So what does it mean that it's in green? That means it was added to the staging, and from here we can actually commit this file. So let's commit it. Git add, git commit -m, and we need a commit message. So added new text file. So this message will go with the actual commit. So you can take a look at the message and understand what you were trying to achieve with this. Okay, let's commit it. The new file was added to the main repository because we only have one to the main branch because we have only one branch. So git branch, and you will see if you'll do git branch command, we are on main. There's only one branch. And then we can do git push. So when we're doing git push, you see it says invalid username or password because we clone the repository using HTTPS method, but our GitHub repository doesn't actually have a token set up yet. So in order to do that, just go to your account on the right, um, go to your settings, and then go to developer settings. Now over here, you can give a personal access token, go to classic token, right? And when then just click generate new token. We're gonna generate classic token, and when generating token, just mark here at the repo so you have full control of your repository from your local branch. You can set an expiration in however many days you want. You can have no expiration even though it's not recommended. But I'm gonna set 7 days, and I'm gonna actually delete the key at once I'm done recording the video so no one else can use it. But just an example. I'm going to have it for 7 days. I'm not going to do any other privileges for this token, no other permissions, just to work with the repositories. And let's generate it. Okay, node, we have to leave a note. This is temp token. Okay, let's generate token. Copy the token over here. Now this token will be used for your configuration of the credentials with your local Git. So now it actually can push your work from the local machine to the GitHub. Okay, let's go here and let's try another Git push. The window is up. You can go and sign in with a token. Provide the token that you copied here, sign in. And now you see that we successfully pushed from local main to the remote main. Now, if we're going to go back to our repositories, so let's go your repositories. Here's our learn Git repository, and it says updated now. We click on it. We see our commit message, added new text. We see the text message here. So let's say someone does some changes. I added some changes on GitHub, right? Or someone from another QA developer worked on that, added some changes. Let's do git fetch to get updates if anything changed on the remote. So we just changed some updates. Now if we're going to do git status, we will see that our local branch is behind origin main. Origin means that it's on GitHub by one commit. So we're behind. So in order to update our file, so let's do again ls, we see the text txt. If we do cat text txt, we will see this is a new file, so our change is not in. So in order to update this local file, we need to do a git pull. So normally this is how you're going to start working on the repository. You have to get the latest code on your local machine first and then start working on it, or get the latest code, and then check out new branch, work in that branch, and then merge it back into the main branch. So we're going to pull. Now we're going to do cat text txt to see our file update. And now we see that this message, I added some changes, was added. Perfect. So let's take a look at our flow here. So we did git pull, we added some changes, we did git add, we did commit, we did git push. Perfect. And let's take a look at our action plan. So we created GitHub account, we created repository in GitHub, we installed Git on local machine, we cloned that repository from GitHub to local machine, we did the credential setup with the token, we updated local repository, push to GitHub, and actually we pulled update from GitHub to the local repository. Perfect. So there are some commands that we can use here, some commands that are basic commands that used often. So here's git status. Git status. So this command will tell you what's going on right now, and it says branch is up to date with the main. So git status looks good. Another command, so git push when you send your changes from the local branch to the remote branch. Then there's git pull, so when you get latest changes from the remote to your local repository. Git add space dot. So git command that adds all changes in the current directory and subdirectories to the staging area. So we actually use that for the file, right? Then there's git checkout to change branch. We don't have any other branches, but we can do git checkout -b and a branch name. This will create new branch and we'll switch to it. So let's do git checkout -b, and let's call this branch develop. Now you see the message came through with the we switched to new branch develop. Let's get git status. So we're on develop, and let's do ls. So we see the file is here. We actually grabbed the latest from the main and we checked out, and this is right now exactly the same as the main. But we can go and maybe add another file, touch. Let's do touch develop txt. Okay, clear the console, and let's update develop file, add some information. So let's do add some info, press A to start adding. You will see there's an insert at the bottom. So added some info, again escape. Now you can save and exit, press shift and press Z twice. So it will do that. Now if we're going to do ls, we will see there are actually two files. Okay, so now we have develop.txt and text.txt. Develop.txt exists only on branch develop. So if we'll do git branch -a, that will list all of the branches available. You can see that there's develop branch, local branch that we're currently on. There's main branch, and then there's remote's origin main. So what will happen if we will try to push, right? So we just did a checkout. Let's do first git status and see what do we have. Okay, so develop.txt is actually untracked. So we want to do a git add to put it to staging. So I'm gonna just add everything. Now let's commit it, git commit -m, added new file, and then now look, git status. Okay, we're on develop, nothing commit, working tree is clean. Why is it saying clean? And we're not behind or some branch, or actually ahead of some branch, because there's no remote branch. There's no remote develop branch on GitHub. So if I'll do, now let's do git push. And you see it says current branch develop has no upstream branch. So that means we actually don't have a branch to send it to. And it gives us a command to create that remote branch in GitHub. So it says git push set upstream origin develop. If I'll go to GitHub now and look at my branches, there's only one branch. Now over here in the console, I'm going to git push and set upstream origin develop. So let me copy this and issue the command. You can see that it actually created a pull request for develop on GitHub by visiting the link, created new branch, and now branch develop set up to track origin develop. So our local develop now tracking remote develop. Let's refresh the page. And now we see two branches are here. There's develop and then there's main. So if we go to our repository, now we can switch between develop and main. And you can see on main branch, we have only one file. On develop branch, we have two, develop and our original file. So now, let's say you wanted to add your work back to the main from the develop. What you can do, so you can do merge. So in order to do merge, first you have to check out. So let's check out to the branch that where we're going to be merging our work into. So let's go to, let's clear the console. So let's do git checkout and then name of the branch. So we're going back to the master branch. Git, was it master or I think it was main. Okay, git checkout main. We're switched to the main branch, right? We're back on the main. If we do git status, we're on the main. Now let's say we want to merge develop into the main. So we can do git merge develop. Okay, so now if we'll do git status, we actually have our branch ahead of the remote one. So let's do git push, and then we will introduce the changes that we originally had in the develop to the remote main, because our local main is already updated after we did the merge. So git push, and now it was pushed out. Let's switch from the develop branch back to the main one. And now we see both files are here, text file and develop file. Okay, so that is it. Essentially, that's the basics of the Git. As you progress your career, you will definitely meet with Git, GitHub, or some other repository management tool. And you will have to work with the tool. You'll have to understand. Maybe you will be fixing some of your test code or updating test cases or even automation. So this tool is definitely really, really helpful and widely used. So knowing it will be very beneficial. Okay, so this was Alex USA Days. Thanks for watching and bye bye.